Protecting southern Arizona's children from sexual predators. Well, it's a crime that oftentimes happens in the dark. In tonight's 13 Crime Files, we are shining a light on how big of an issue this really is and what one Tucson Police Department unit is doing about it.
But I can tell you, working in this assignment, we are extremely busy. There are a lot more pedophiles, if you know, for lack of a better way to say it, than people really know. I mean, we have investigations that are going on daily.
Sergeant Lawrence Hove Jr. leads the Human Exploitation and Trafficking, or HEAT team, as well as the Sex Offender Registration and Tracking, or SORT team. Officers working in these units have been incredibly busy, running operations every week as they continue their efforts to thwart tragedies, especially those involving children.
Unfortunately, we have tons of adults that are willing, right here in our community, and willing to travel to purchase sex from people. In my unit, I can say that we've investigated individuals that are willing to purchase sex from individuals as young as 5 years old. So that kind of gives you a picture of where we are.
In this video recently released by TPD, you can see how sophisticated some of the operations are. Detectives say this 38-year-old traveled from Phoenix to meet who he thought was a 14-year-old girl for sex. He was found with child porn and animals he'd purchased. Many of our viewers asked why the response was so large. While Sergeant Hove could not go into specifics, he says what they uncovered during their background investigation of the suspect merited the resources used. Almost 100% of the investigations in the HEAT unit stem from online predation, both in and outside the U.S.
But one of our recent investigations, we had an individual that was paying for live, children to be abused live, and they were paying these individuals in another country, and they were specifying exactly what they wanted to see and they wanted to have done live. So unfortunately, there's a market out there for that.
Things have certainly changed for officers, and not for the better.
Predators and pedophiles are very cunning, you know. Back in the day, you would imagine the van with no windows cruising the schoolyard or the park, right? Well, today that's the internet.
And because of the internet, it's made it much easier for that van to cruise wherever it wants to. Most children are brought up using cell phones and tablets, prime targets for predators trying to lure kids in. While we may sound like a broken record, Sergeant Hove issues perhaps the most important reminder.
You have to be nosy. You have to know your child. You have to know who they're hanging out with. You have to know what social media presence they have. And if you have a child that's on social media, and if you have a child, they probably are, you should know what websites they're on. You should know what their handles are. You should have their passwords, and you should be checking their accounts.
It may be a matter of changing a child's life.
It's not you get assaulted in a Target and the event is over. The effects of these crimes are long, life-lasting. Some of these victims will never, ever recover. It doesn't matter the amount of counseling. It doesn't matter the amount of love, care, and appreciation you put into that person. They're just never going to recover.
Victims are offered resources following any traumatic event they may be involved in with these units.